So the focus of today's video is starting off on the right foot, which means starting off with the right exchange. The right exchange, I believe, should encompass multiple aspects to help you really kill multiple birds with one stone. And this should encompass things like security, longevity, how long has the actual exchange been around, how long have they actually subjected themselves to possible security threats in the market, who is the actual team and what are their long-term goals, how many options do they have, security is huge, what are they doing to circumvent all these security risks, and just overall, how do you like using the interface? Do they have multiple options like iOS, Android, Windows, Mac? All these things are very important to take into consideration when you begin. So if you haven't done that already or really established some form of best practices, you should at least apply that metric and see if your current exchange is making the cut. All right, so starting off at Huobi.pro, if you want to follow along, it's Huobi.pro. You can pause the video, sign up. It's a really quick process, and let me know what you think in the comments. I really want to know what your experience is, because I know what mine has been, and it's been great. I have no problem supporting what Huobi is trying to do, and I think they're a really fun and innovative company. And I think the fact that they're designing their token to have so much utility value could mean good things for its appreciation in the future. And that leads me to the first promotion, which is Huobi Token Trading Zone. And they're offering free trading in the Huobi Token Zone from June 6th to July 7th. And if you want to learn more, definitely just click on the box. And we can see the different options that you can acquire Huobi tokens with completely feeless, which is EOS, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic, Ripple, IOST, and Dash. If you want to learn more, look down in the description. I'll provide links for everything if you want to continue your research. And speaking about research, I highly recommend everyone do your own research. I know you've heard that multiple times, but I was really impressed when I did my own. I created a step-by-step tutorial for them about 2 months ago, and I had no problem supporting them after everything that I learned. The first thing that caught my eye was the fact that they've never been hacked, and their conception was back in 2013, and they've been subjected to the market long enough to, I'm sure, endure multiple threats and be able to overcome those. The security doesn't just end there. They have multiple backup funds and reserves just in case they were to experience some type of serious security breach. The first one I want to talk about is the Investor Protection Fund, which began this year in January 2018. And what they do is they buy back Huobi tokens every quarter with 20% of their revenue at the secondary market. So to simplify that, if they were to make $100 million in revenue, they take $20 million and they put this in the Investor Protection Fund. They lock it up in Huobi tokens. What this does is it prioritizes compensating the Huobi users or Huobi.pro users in case a sudden security risk were to happen and losses occurred. The second option is the Huobi Security Reserve, and I think this is a great option. It gives me peace of mind when I'm trading on their platform to know that they have some type of backup. What it is the reserve comprised of 20,000 Bitcoins, so 20,000 times the ongoing rate's about 7,000. That's $140 million. Worth a peace of mind if you're worried about, them ending up like CoinCheck or any of the other ones that have fallen to the wayside. This reserve is owned by Huobi, and it's stored in an independent address, cold storage. It can be audited, and it's there for any losses that are resulted from a security breach. But one thing to keep in mind is it's not for losses occurred by the users themselves. It's only for that security breach, but Huobi.pro, in case that happens, will compensate you in full. And I think all that shows that Huobi's really interested in staying at the top of the game, and also they're here to stay. The fact that they have offices in Hong Kong, Seoul, Korea, Tokyo, the US, they just opened one in the San Francisco area. And the more I've read, I see that they're looking to develop into Australia, along with Sao Paulo, Brazil. So if you haven't heard of them yet, you definitely will. And now I think it's time to move on to the fun stuff, which is looking at the charts. How much can you make? What is this Huobi token and what is its actual utility value? Now, what creates scarcity for the actual token itself is if you want to list your new dApp, say you're Ethereum and you want to get on a good exchange, you want to be on one of the top ones, you have the option to do that with Huobi. And what you would do is you would buy a million Huobi tokens, so we're talking about $5.2 million worth of tokens, to have a vote to actually have your token listed or your DApp listed or your coin listed. And you have to lock it up, and it gives you voting rights. By doing this, I think they have something like a total of almost 70 million already locked up. And if you have a circulating supply of 300 million, that's about like 23% is currently locked up. So it's a really smart idea on how to create scarcity, but at the same time make it more legitimate and actually compound those different utility values to do more and more things. And when I look at the pattern, I see a very basic cup and handle. If you're not familiar with that pattern, I'll put a link to this, but you can see how it forms. I'm going to go into detail on that with their interface and show you how easy it is to use and why I actually like using their charts. It keeps it all in one place, and it alleviates the headache as well as having so many different windows open like I have right now. All right, so going over to the Huobi.pro page, Huobi.pro, we'll check out some charts, specifically Huobi tokens, and I'm going to click on the upper left-hand corner where it says exchange right there. And that will take me sometimes directly to Huobi tokens, but if it doesn't, just look over here where it says markets. And I like to compare everything next to USDT. It might not always be that way in the future, but I think it gives you the best overall idea of what the actual market value is compared to something you're familiar with. All right, so onto my area of expertise, which is cryptocurrency trading. I've been trading for over 4 years now, and when I began, I probably made every mistake there was to make. I didn't follow my mentor's advice. I thought I had it figured out, and it's real easy to get tricked when you begin trading crypto, especially in a booming market, that your little new technique or what you're doing is actually working. And when the market turns on you and you don't have a game plan, or you haven't even thought that far, that's when you're going to make some really bad decisions. So overall, what my mistakes have taught me is it's super important that if you need to, take a few steps back to make a few forward, but definitely have a game plan in order, something like best practices, have your own rules, principles, and then overall that will form the discipline that you apply and continue to make, substantial gains. So one of the principles that I apply to all my trading, and this is before I start adding indicators, applying the different tools, I make sure I double, triple check that I'm on the right market. And to do that, you want to make sure that whatever you're looking at is highlighted, and they both are. So USDT and HT are both highlighted. But the third check is to make sure that it states that up here and everything's correlated, because you want to make sure that you're on the right chart before you start doing all this work. And that's one mistake that I've made. And then you get stuck in this trade that you just hope to break even. And if you're on some obscure token, it can set you up for really big losses. All right, so now that we've established we're in the right market, we're on the right chart, we can begin to apply the different indicators and tools that will help us break down this cup and handle. And this is a pretty textbook cup and handle. The tool I like to begin framing price with is the horizontal ray. And what I do is I click on the little arrow over in the left, and you can go up, you'll see the trend line, and then you can take it down to horizontal ray. And what we'll do is we'll find areas, the highs and the lows, areas of support and resistance. And I'll probably put maybe 4, 6 can put in 6. You just don't want to clutter up your chart too much. And what's nice about using the horizontal ray is you can have those lines in the back and you can see what the prior action was, price action, and still have a close-up view of what's going on at the moment. You can also change the color, so if you're kind of wondering where the high and the low was, you can do that as well. Looking at the big picture of the cup and handle, we can see that it's one of the easiest patterns, I think, to identify, but at the same time, you want to understand what's going on. And what's going on here is you have an area of old high, your prior high, and then what happens is, those early buyers, maybe there's a sell-off, maybe it's just like a slower sell-off, as we can see here, and then it starts to go and try to retest where those old sellers were. Well, the nice thing about that, and what's so important about this chart, is knowing where your entry points should be. So taking the rule of thumb with a cup and handle, and I don't know if this is what everyone follows, but I found it to be quite prevalent throughout this pattern, is we're looking at the prior high, And then we're looking at, is there a formation of the handle? So I'm going to make a little channel right there where, typically it can be. And what happens is you have the initial sellers back here. They're trying to break even again and get a better price. So that's why we can see it kind of stayed pretty even. A lot of indecisiveness, like, hey, is this going to shoot or is it going to fall? And then you look for volume. Is volume picking up right around here with some big orders? And if you were to enter in this area, let's put a date and time and see what the possibility was. So it's almost close to 100% in a matter of 12 days. So that's why your entry points are so important. So I'm definitely going to be keeping a close eye on this pattern, and I suggest you guys do the same if you want to see how it all plays out. I'm going to be creating a separate video that goes more into detail of cup and handles and why they form the patterns they do and what it all means, along with, most important, where to place your buy entries and why to place them where you do. So keep an eye out for that. If you haven't already, hit the little bell in the upper right hand corner to get alerted to my latest content. Please subscribe if you enjoy my content, and I always appreciate the nice comments that I receive. Overall, it's not just about the pattern you see on the chart. It's also the pattern of the company itself. Have they done what they said they'll do time and time again? How long have they been around for? And the fact that Huobi's been around for 5 years and the speed in which they've grown, I find incredibly impressive. The fact that they were able to effectively overcome all the different challenges that were brought in 2017 and still become a growing, thriving global company says a lot about what they're capable of. And when using an exchange, for me, it's not just about support, security, ease of use, user interface. It's also, what are they doing to give back to the community? And the fact that, well, first of all, I'm honored to bring this news to you. I was one of the first they contacted, but it's the fact that they're creating a public blockchain. So definitely hit the link down in the description to learn more, but they'll be contributing $30 million worth of Huobi tokens to the development of this new open source blockchain. Huobi Chain Product Director Gordon Chen stated, "The future will need a new type of financial system." Chen also announced that Huobi hopes to pursue a community-driven governance, including decisions about the development of the blockchain itself. He stated that we decide to invite blockchain superheroes from all over the world to build the Huobi public chain with us. So some really interesting and important information being released by Huobi, and I'd like to leave you guys off with a speech made by their Chief Strategy Officer, Charlie Tsai. He stated, "Huobi has been glorious over the past 5 years, since its establishment in 2013, from a Bitcoin trading-based website to the world's leading digital asset financial service provider, from a small Chinese team of dozens of people to the Huobi Group that spans across 5 continents and employs thousands of people. With this global brand upgrade, Huobi Group will surely continue to be glorious in the future." With all the new development being created by Huobi, I hope that you'll at least give the Huobi.pro user interface a chance, and let me know what you think in the comments below. I know I've had a great experience using them, and if you decide to make the change, please use my code right there. What that does is it allows me to continue to create content specifically for you guys. I really appreciate each and one of my subscribers, and if you're new, please keep an eye out for my new content, and I'm trying to really just steer you guys in the right direction. I think the fact that Huobi's been around since 2013, they haven't been hacked, they have the User Protection Fund, they have the Reserve Fund, and they have their new Change Initiative, which is their open source public blockchain that they'll be contributing 30 million Huobi tokens towards, says a lot that they're willing to give back to the community, and I have no problem supporting things like that. So, as always, treat each other like you would yourselves, and I'm going to leave you off with a video from Huobi. I think it was on June 6, 2018, their new press conference about their open source blockchain. So check that out and take care.
And you're looking at this around you, everywhere. You know what that means? We combined 2 words, chain and change, to create this new word called change. Okay, you get it? It means that Huobi chain will change the future. And I think it conveys our mission perfectly. And I want to give due credit to a smart girl that's on our team. Her name is Flora. She came up with this idea.